All right, guys, on tonight's episode, we check out everything night vision. So let's talk a little bit more about, we've talked about the night vision, we've talked about the different levels of night vision, everything from a PVS-14 all the way up to the Sentinel setups. How do we wear these things? Because you can't walk around just holding them. You can, but it's really not effective. No. So let's talk a little bit about helmets. Okay. So there are tons of helmets in the world. You've got what? OpsCore, Team Wendy. You've got who else?
You got MTech. You've got Gentex. You've
Cry.
got Cry. You've got
Revision.
So there are tons of different options, and everything from a bump, which is like more like a plastic setup, but it's really light.
Right.
So I have a bump setup. Mostly because if I'm going hunting, I'm not worried about a ballistic setup. But for the guy that's kicking indoors and doing something, is going to want to go more ballistic. Now, from what I've seen, you can get a really good bump setup for about $300, just for the straight helmet. And then the ballistics start like almost closer to $1,000.
You can actually get a really great ballistic for just about the cost of a bump helmet.
Really? Who makes that?
Revision.
Okay. Yep. And are they rated, like the ballistics are usually rated pretty high up, similar to like plates, so they have like a different level setup?
They're ACH.
3 alpha rated NIJ spec. And,
that's awesome.
So, matter of fact, the police officer that was shot in the head in Orlando during the Pulse nightclub shooting was wearing a
revision.
Yeah.
And, granted, the round impacted the shroud on his helmet and absorbed,
which is a little helpful.
Right. But he walked away just fine.
That's awesome. And being in service, you're a Navy vet. Mm-hmm. You work a lot in the police side. We see stuff like that. Like I've seen guys hit, shot the ACH and walk away just fine. They just got a ringing headache and a couple, rings in their ears. So if it's something that you're going to end up doing, you're kind of like if you're around a lot of firearms, you're kicking indoors, you're operating overseas.
If you're a range safety officer.
That's actually a really good point, is you're going to be walking around with these guys, you're going to want a ballistic setup, and if you can get a revision for $300, that's awesome. And then we have the bumps at $300, and they go up, depending on retention systems and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Or carbon fiber versus polymer.
Think a helmet is like a rifle. It's all modular, so you can add to and take away and customize it to kind of fill your mission requirements. If you're a hunter, you probably don't need a ballistic helmet.
Yep.
But a good bump helmet with some vents in it cut in for passive cooling when it's hot is really nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, you mentioned how they're lightweight, but there's also ballistic helmets that are nearly as lightweight as bump helmets.
Yeah.
Specifically this MTech, it weighs 2.2 pounds.
Which is nuts. Like my ACH weighed like 6 pounds. It was ridiculous.
Well, it probably
felt like 6 pounds because it was heavy with a bunch of gear on
It
it.
had about 2 pounds of sweat soaked into the pads.
I probably did at that point. So we're talking about helmets. So let's go ahead and talk about the setup on helmets. So if say someone's going more of the PVS-14,
sure.
You have a PVS-14 setup here. Kind of walk us through the setup of the helmet as far as just a really nice basic setup, something that guys can go out real quick, get a hold of, and then run with that.
So we're familiar with the PVS-14 already,
I am very familiar with the PVS-14. J-arm is usually your hookup.
Right. And then the other thing is you need a mount to interface the PVS-14 with the shroud on the helmet. Some helmets have bolt-on shrouds. Some helmets have integrated molded shrouds. Whatever you get, it is what it is.
Right.
But the mount is a key.
What's a normal? So this is what kind of mount?
This is a Wilcox L4 G11.
Okay. What's that about cost?
These are about $300.
Which, if you're carrying thousands of dollars on it, you kind of want to spend a little bit of money with a solid setup.
This little piece of equipment can kind of make or break your quality experience with night vision. This is specifically this one is the new mil-spec mount that's replacing the Rhino.
It's called the G11 Army mount.
Right.
So it's replacing
the Rhino mount is
the Rhino mount that you're used to. That's the replacement.
Yeah, compared to these,
phasing
I threw on a helmet with this new mount setup, and it is a night and day difference from the original Rhino mounts.
Right. The Rhino is a 30-year-old system. We've come a long way in 30 years.
I hope so.
I don't know too many people that drive cars that are 30 years old. So why would you?
Mine's getting there.
well,
Oh, I mean that's
it's a truck.
That's yeah.
It's a truck.
But this is a key piece in the whole brand.
I mean that's literally going from your head to the integration of the night vision. So
and that's where your adjustability and your fine tuning of the goggle to your face comes in.
Is gonna be really helpful.
They've done a lot of improvements on that.
Okay.
To come out with that version of it.
Okay, so what's kind of the next piece of a helmet that you might want to be able to get a hold of?
Those three components are kind of your baseline.
Okay.
You can get away with running just that.
Now don't forget the shroud. Now this one has the molded in shroud. Over
So
here.
that one's a bolt-on.
This
Right.
is a bolt-on.
Bolt-on.
That's
Some helmets.
There's a bolt-on
Some
setup.
helmets come with a shroud. Some helmets you need to buy one. You know,
Okay.
But a really good shroud is only about $60.
Yeah, so that's something to keep in consideration. If you want to buy a shroud, you can get a helmet that has, the shroud that's separate. That's an easy way to replace a shroud. If you crack a shroud, or you smack it into a wall, or you drop it and it cracks a shroud, it's a really easy way to you could just replace the shroud.
Sure.
If you're doing something that's molded and it cracks or something happens to it, then you've got to get a new helmet. So there's kind of benefits and negatives to kind of both.
Mm-hmm.
So now we talk about, I see on the back of all kind of your setups are the back side of the helmet is ballast.
Right.
So in the Army, we would just cinch the crap out of our chin straps and stuff. Yeah, suspension system. But now we see everything is, hey, there's a counterbalance. Let's think about this. Let's put a little bit more weight on the back. So this would kind of be more of an additive, right? This is not something that is necessary. But
for a 14 setup, no. It's nice to have, it's not a need to have.
Okay, but this is helpful. It kind of keeps that helmet kind of flat.
It does.
There's a lot
centered.
of different counterweights out there. This one happens to be the TNVC Mohawk
Okay.
Mark 1, and it's a counterweight, but it's user configurable and utilitarian.
Okay.
And I'll let Don talk about them.
Okay. Yeah. So it was designed by our director of operations, and it's with a lot of feedback from us. It's got an open pouch
Break
in
it
the
open?
back. No, we'll just open it from the side.
Okay.
So
and of
I don't
course,
know
guys,
if, I don't know if there's
I know you
there are
guys can't
batteries
see
in
from that far away,
So,
but I'll show you guys some up close of this.
So it has,
now,
has a battery pack in it.
oh, nice. So you're
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
the battery as a counterweight,
Well,
but it's
not
a
necessarily.
dual function basically.
Not necessarily.
Does-
This has these little bendable lead weights inside of it.
Oh,
So
nice.
I can push one of these out. So there's a total pound of weight. So there's 4 of
16
these.
ounces.
So each one of these is a quarter pound. So you can,
Oh,
take some out
nice.
if you wanted to.
And these are malleable.
Yeah. So
But you can literally flex this depending on the curvature of your back of your helmet.
Exactly,
You can
yeah,
kind of get
depending
this to
upon
fit.
your
Yeah,
helmet.
these actually bend really easy. I mean, standard lead is pretty soft metal.
So in addition to that, it's got a battery tray that you can pull out and put either CR123s or AA's.
Which is nice because the PVS-14 runs on
double A's.
A's.
But you may need 123s for your flashlight. It's
Yeah.
you're gonna put something up there. That's
Might as
the
well
idea.
have it as a helpful,
Right.
piece. And then I see you've got
So
two straps
I've
up
got
top.
this little Chemlight, battery powered thing
Yeah.
on here. But you could also put this is 123 batteries fit perfectly in here.
Yeah,
that one's got some.
He's got 123s right here. So my guess is a great way is that your pistol light dies. It's an easy just reach up, pop it out, pop it in.
Yeah.
Or your night vision.
Or your night
Yeah,
vision.
your
Quick battery
Sentinels
changeover.
have the Sentinels and some of the other ones take 123. So if that's what
Okay.
flavor you're running, the reason it's called a Mohawk is obviously the design. It runs
comes
up
on
the
up.
top, kind
Right.
of like a Mohawk haircut.
And this is more like an IR transponder, correct?
Yeah, it's an IR beacon or a strobe. That's the old school. You may
Oh, I
recognize
know those really well.
Got a few of those laying around from my time. This is a Manta from SNS Precision. Over here, I've got the Hellstar from Core.
Okay.
Survival?
Now
For
I've seen the
survival
mantas.
systems.
I think the mantas are pretty awesome.
They're
real
pretty-
quick, easy.
pretty cool.
It's real simplistic.
Right. So you can cinch it down. I mean, even a tourniquet will fit right here. If you don't have a need for this and you want put something up here, you want to
That
put a
works.
tourniquet, you can cinch that down. And it also has pretty cool cable management things for your.
Oh, that's
for your
awesome.
You can literally put
So-
anything you want in here. I mean, you can put 3 stripper clips of 5.56 ammo in
Yeah,
here
if you want. So,
So
yeah.
it's basically not only is it using the counterweight, but it's also dual function because
Exactly.
you can set it up with a pouch, you can set up patches, you can put on the IR patches on the
Plus,
back.
they look really cool.
Yeah, and they look cool.
And part
that's
of this is looking
right.
cool.
There's a CDI factor to this whole thing. But yeah, so you can put your cable management, keep stuff from dangling around.
Yeah, I like that.
And stuff like that. Other things for helmet setups too is, he's got his, this is my old Ops Corps ballistic. I had this.
Right.
This has got so many downrange patrols all over RC South and
Oh, yeah.
whatnot. I put some
All
new
those fun
pads in
places.
it. Yeah, I put some new pads in it, kind of cleaned it up a little bit.
Now you guys are running your Ear Pro, because I run Pelletors like you do, and I got the Pelletor extension pieces where I just clipped off my old headband and clipped this back on, ran the wires behind it, and it works really well. And this is really nice because they pop out and they can come off. Like if you're wearing them, you can pop them and they give a little more airflow through it if you're not using them on the thing. And they also fold up really nice. They get out of the way, and you never have to worry about like having a Ear Pro band going through the helmet, so it kind of feels a little bit more weird.
It's really, I'll tell you, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that for years and years. I wore my headset underneath.
Your band
as soon as I did this, I was like, why did I wait so long? This really is, it's not just a Gucci mod to do. It is really a quality of life kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean,
these are the 3M brand arc rail adapters.
Yeah, I have the same thing. Yeah,
he's got the Sarah adapters, right?
Actually,
the Marks.
Sarahs are what clip into the Sword and Ear Pros, but these are actually they're called the Mark system from Unity Tactical.
Yeah, I've actually seen some stuff on these. These are great because these actual attachment points are aluminum, right?
Correct.
They're machined aluminum, so they're not going to wear out. Now, the 3M ones are plastic, but at the same time, it's one of those, if they break, it's kind of a pain in the butt.
Right.
So, but I mean, for a really crazy setup, is kind of what this one is set up with. It's, you've got your Ear Pro off, you've got, some visible white light if you need just a small one.
Admin light and an actual, search light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there's levels of kind of what you can build your helmet into. If you're, operating overseas and you need like all of the fast kit stuff, that's kind of more of a setup. Ballistic, it's got all the bells and whistles. But if you're just walking around the woods, maybe you need something a little more stripped down, a little bit more simple.
Yeah.
One thing
this is my training and hunting helmet.
Yeah.
It's carbon fiber, not ballistic. So this is the MTech Flux.
Oh,
carbon.
these are really nice, yeah.
Right. So it's nice and light. It's really rigid. It offers a little bit more protection than a polymer shell. It's got the vents cut in it. I like that.
Always nice.
We're in the south.
We're in Florida. It's hot.
Even in the wintertime, it's hot. And I've got a piece of rail adapter on here with a white light in case I need it.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
And, just kind of cool. Plus
Okay,
some cool
so
patches.
we've gotten the helmets down.
Right.
We've gotten the night vision down. Let's talk about aiming, right? Because you're lasers. So when it comes to lasers,
Right.
there are a couple of different ones out there, and they range in prices, right? You can get a nice Steiner for not a lot of money. Holosun now makes an IR laser, even with illuminator now. That's I think it's like $700, $800.
It's
$750.
$750.
Yeah.
$750.
And it's, from what we've seen, it's a pretty decent
It's a
laser
contender.
illuminator.
And then we can kind of get into what everybody's talking about now are the Mauls, which are a little bit more money, but the capabilities are so much more. And then you can get into like the PEC 15s. You can there are tons of different laser aiming devices on the market for rifles and for pistols.
They're like AR-15s. You can buy a $500 AR-15, or you can buy a $2,500 AR-15.
So let's talk about a basic setup, something really simple. So we have what, Steiner D-Ball?
This is a D-Ball A3 from Steiner.
Okay.
So it's actually, this is more of a higher end offering from Steiner. It has an integrated aiming laser in a visible spectrum as well as an infrared laser. And they're slaved together.
Oh, nice.
So it works
as
almost just like your PEC 15.
Right. So as you're aiming, because the thing about these lasers, guys, is you have to realize these are aiming devices. If you might not be able to see through a red dot, even though your red dot's set up, or we're going to talk about something you can mount behind a red dot to kind of do the same thing. But you're not so much aiming down your optic; you're using a laser system to do your aiming for you.
Correct.
Yes.
So with those, you zero them just like you do a rifle optic. You're going to set it up. You're going to go out at night. You're going to throw your night vision on. You're going to do all the windage and the elevation adjustments. So slaving a Viz and an IR setup, they're moving at the same windage and elevation.
Right.
Okay. And then it also does what else?
It also has an infrared illuminator.
Okay.
So that's like an infrared flashlight. Basically.
Right. So it basically puts a big flood of IR light, which is going to intensify the light that your actual nods can see. Mm-hmm. So something like this, let's talk the basic version of the D-Ball setup.
Right. D-Ball, we call it the I-squared,
right.
The I2. And there's two versions. There's a single spectrum version, which has an infrared illuminator and an infrared laser.
Okay.
And then there's the dual spectrum, which is an infrared laser and a visible spectrum laser. If you ask either of us, we prefer the single spectrum because we really like having the infrared illuminator.
The illuminator.
We're night vision guys. I would say
I mean, we're out
Probably-
here at night filming for a reason.
Yeah, at least 50% of the shooting that Don and I do is after the sun goes down.
So what's that kind of basic setup cost?
Those are about $775.
So that's really not a bad setup
That's
for
for
a
the
single
I-squared.
spectrum for the I squared. Now,
And-
what's kind of more of this step where it's
The D-Ball A3 is about $1,250. You know, with the addition of the dual lasers, you increase in price a little bit.
right,
Um,
but a good like mid step.
yeah, I would say, and it's
still a
good
solid
laser.
piece of equipment.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good laser.
Now-
And now let me back us up a little bit here.
Okay.
We're talking about two different categories too. So we have the civilian legal powered, which is considered called class
That's
1.
another thing. So
And we have class 3, which is restricted. So
class
this is
1,
a
just for you guys to
really
know,
good class 1 laser.
class 1 is civilian safe. Well, what we know is civilian safe.
I see.
Right, eye safe. So if I hit a guy in the face with it, I'm not going to burn his eyeballs out.
Right.
The military and law enforcement and guys that are going overseas that are doing different things kind of work into the class 3. Those are much more powerful. They can reach a lot further. I mean, I remember when we were using the green beam stuff, and that thing you hit somebody in the face, you'll burn their face off, and it's super powerful.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Pretty awesome.
We used to do it. We used to take them and hit them into windshields. We used to hit them into windshields, and it would spider in the windshield, and they'd stop real fast. So everything we're talking about right now is civilian setups, because a lot of the military guys, and if you military guys out there, if you the contractor guys and your police officers that want to kind of get into this and want to know the differences, you guys can call them, and we'll talk about the contact stuff a little bit later. So let's talk about the one thing that everybody's kind of talking about in the night vision world, IR world, is the MAWL.
Right.
The MAWL's kind of the new kid on the block. It's kind of smacked everybody around.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the MAWL a little bit.
Mall came out about coming up on 9 months ago.
Yeah.
Really.
Were you talking about the C1 Plus?
The C1 Plus.
Yes. MAL DA.
The MAL DA has been out for a little bit longer than that. So the MAL C1 Plus is a Class 1 civilian legal eye-safe laser, and it brings. You previously you kind of sat about this level for all the Class 1 lasers. This
Yeah.
thing is
Just
operating
jumped.
way up here.
The
It's
the aiming
insane.
laser part of it is pretty much the same. Now B.E. Myers, it's all proprietary. I don't know. They're the laser people.
Right.
They're the laser guys. But because of the power restriction, it's 0.7 milliwatt.
Yeah, you can
know,
only
so
get so
it's-
much
right.
power out of a civilian set laser.
So the things about the MAWL performance-wise, one of the things that people really love about the C1 Plus is the illuminator. They've worked
it's
some magic
insane, and I'll show
to give it
you.
a lot better.
I'll show you
capability.
kind of what the throw. Like everybody's used to flashlights and the throw of light.
Yeah.
So if you think about the IR illuminators being like a flashlight, like you spoke about earlier, this is night and day different than this
correct.
by far.
Yep.
And I'll put up a video showing more of the D-ball setup with the illuminator on through one of the night vision setups, and then we'll go ahead and turn on a MAWL, and you will see it completely change. And so let's talk about the MAWL's price. What are we looking at with the C1 Plus?
The MAWL is $2,500.
Okay, but it's pretty much worth it for
Well-
all of the little features that you get with it and the power of it and the build of it.
Here's the thing: if L3 or Steiner or Holosun or any of the other laser companies were to come out with a laser that was as capable as the MAWL is, it would also be $2,500.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Probably when they do.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably when they do. Steiner is set to release the D-Ball A4 here, probably in the next few weeks, months, and that'll be an interesting offering. And that thing does seem pretty capable. Rumor on the street is the starting price will be around $1,800.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. It is less than $2,500. We'll see if the infrared illuminator performs
as good.
like the MAWL.
Now-
The MAWL, the claim to fame with the MAWL is the ergonomics of it. It is it is a 3-piece laser that is adaptable to fit your shooting style in the sense that are you a righty or a lefty. So I can take this apart into the 3 pieces and switch it to the other side if I was a left-handed shooter.
So there's a modularity to the
Right.
laser
That's
system.
what
And if
M
you damage
stands
one
for.
piece, you're not out the whole laser. You can actually just replace that one.
A piece out of that.
Correct.
So just for you guys to wrap your head around on some of the pricing with something like the Maul versus a D-ball or a Holosun. I know guys that are running optics on their rifle that are $5,000. This is a night optic, is basically what it is. Is this is what you're aiming at night. So you want something that's really high quality. They're really robust. Like, they are solid.
This is the the Schmidt and Bender, the Night Force, the high end Leupold, the Swarovski of lasers.
This would be more of like your Vortex kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of setup. So that kind of gives you guys an understanding of why these things are costing the way they are and how important they are. All right, so we've talked about aiming devices.
Well, if you don't mind me,
yeah, absolutely,
putting one more thing in here. This laser actually increases the capability of whatever night vision system that you're going to run. So,
okay.
One thing I've told guys in the past is if you're working with a budget and your budget, you have the option of going with a dual tube system with maybe a Steiner laser. One other way to think about, or one other route to go, is maybe go a white phosphor PVS 14 and a Maul.
So almost you're taking the money. So PVS 14 is very capable. Using the infantry,
Right. Yep.
This is kind of what we had all the time, and we did plenty of fun.
Plus
things
it
with
up with an unfilmed white phosphor tube.
So we go an unfilmed white tube,
Put a
right?
supercharger in it.
And then basically, like you're saying, that Maul is a supercharger.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing that's going to bump this to the next level. So maybe if to get more bang for your buck, kind of per se,
Right.
instead of going with a dual set, you go down to a PVS 14, go unfiltered white phosphorus, and then you pick up a Maul. Now,
That's a way to go.
that's kind of one of the ways. And the thing about it is you can match these things. Like, if you have a little bit more money and you want to spend it, you're going to do a lot of stuff at night. You can go with a set of Sentinels and a Maul if that's a price that you can play with.
Right.
For a lot of guys like myself, that's not a route I could possibly go with. But for me, if I go PVS 14 white phosphorus, I save a little bit of money because I'm not using dual tubes, so I'm not doubling my price immediately. But I can also go into a Maul and basically raise the ability of my night, my night vision, my hunting, everything else by going with a Maul versus say a D-ball setup.
Correct.
Just because the Illuminator, I'm walking through the woods, because in Florida we have a shit ton of woods. We literally live in a giant swamp. So walking through all of the wood stuff out here, having that Illuminator is going to make a night and day difference.
And you can switch the illuminator power into 3 different modes. So depending on the type of terrain you find yourself in, if you're in really closed in, palmetto forest or whatever down here, where you can't see more than about 30, 40 yards, the CQB mode works really good. Then you happen to walk out into a clearing or something like that.
You want a little more throw out there. You can kind of change it up.
Intermediate mode, and then if you get out on, like, say, a set of power lines, like we do a lot, where you can see 1-2 miles, you can bump up the illuminator and you can push light out to
several hundred meters with that.
Conservatively, I would say 700 meters.
Conservative. 700 meters.
On a dark night, you could push it out to a click.
So most people can't shoot that far.
Right.
So having the capability, that's one of those things, like you see a lot of this is people build rifles that are more accurate than themselves.
Right.
They run pistols that are more accurate than themselves.
And I don't recommend you shoot at something
No.
1,000 meters
But what that
away
gives you the
with
ability
night
is to
vision.
see
But
something.
you can
that
see
far.
something coming.
Right.
If you're out on the trails, especially out here in Florida, we've got guys that run around in ATVs at night. They run lights, they do all that stuff. So having that ability to kind of identify something kind of way off in the distance. We have bears. Yes, Florida has bears.
Big
You
ones.
can, yeah. Oh yeah. And so you can kind of see that kind of coming from a distance if you're in like a wide open clearing. Now, if you're in Texas, which has real wide open plains, and you're hog hunting, and you need to see a little bit further to kind of move onto something or shift position on something, you could throw light out way out there and go, okay, that's kind of where I want to move out to, and you can.
And the other thing is they work great for signaling. Don and I went out hunting last weekend, and we were using these things to signal each other from several hundred yards away.
Yeah, and you can kind of just say each other, and because they're
And
civilian
any
safe.
of these lasers can be used for those types of things too.
Right.
Another thing, I just hooked a SWAT sniper up with one. I was out doing some demos, and he brought his rifle. It was set up as a bolt gun, but he had one of these on it, and but he was having difficulty seeing certain things. We clipped the Maul DA
Yeah.
on there, and it was night and day.
Yeah, and the DA, we're talking
it was
about
more powerful.
We're talking about the C1 Plus. That's more your civilian. The DA is more your military police
Right,
stuff.
yeah.
Okay, So we've kind of done all of our laser stuff, illuminator stuff, rifle mounted stuff. Let's kind of keep with rifle mounted. So say you don't want to run a helmet, right? Say you're sitting in a tree stand, you're you're out hunting hogs, or you want something more based on your rifle. So you have a setup here with a PVS 14 that you can clip to the back.
Yep.
And it basically turns your red dot into a night vision optic.
Yep. You can run it on your helmet, and then when you want to take an accurate shot, you can take it off your helmet. You can clip it in.
And of course, guys, I know it's kind of far away. I'll show you an up-close version of what's happening with this. So it's basically a mount, it twists on, and all of a sudden now I have a night vision set up behind my red dot. So maybe you can't afford a laser at the time, right? Maybe you don't have the time, you don't have the extra money to go laser, and you still want to have night capabilities to go hunting. Yep. This is a great adapter to run behind a red dot, and we'll talk a little bit about scoped optic setup over here, but for running a red dot, that's a great piece to have. If you're just out hog hunting and you need a red dot, you sit in a tree or sit in a truck and you got to clip it on, and all of a sudden now I have night capability.
You can go from your helmet to this in under 10 seconds, so you can make a shot pretty quickly.
Right.
And believe it or not, you can actually keep this on your helmet, cheek your rifle, and make a shot.
All right, so we got Sam getting ready to go into a rifle, running a PVS 14, and he's also running the Maul. So what's kind of the steps that you would go through when you go ahead and shoulder a rifle?
Generally speaking, I'm not going to shoulder it in the traditional sense. I might get more of a chin weld, and sometimes I'll cant the rifle ever so slightly.
Is that because you've got night vision kind of in the way, or is that you want more visibility?
You're essentially looking over the top of your optic to where your laser pointer is, pointing, if you're using your laser as your primary targeting device.
Right, because on this situation, like we have a Comp 4, but Sam's under a PVS 14 on a non-dominant eye, so his main aiming device is going to be the Maul. So let's go ahead and let's not fire around. Let's just go ahead and point it up so let everybody kind of see what a Maul looks like with laser.
So the Maul has 3 different modes. Currently I'm in the CQB short range mode.
Okay.
And this is what it looks like. You get a 60-degree cone of infrared illumination and a nice crisp laser dot.
Yeah, and I just changed focus so you guys can see that dot is, a pretty good dot. So that's one of those, you put it on the target, it's going to show up. So what's the next mode that you have on there?
The next mode would be what they consider the intermediate mode. So you step outside of a CQB type distance out into a street or an alleyway or something like that.
Right.
The intermediate mode is good for about 50 to 150 meters.
All right, let's see what that looks like. And you just changed that literally on the fly.
Yep, just using my left thumb.
Okay.
So you get a 60-degree cone of infrared illumination plus a more focused cone as well as your laser dot.
So that's really bright. Let's aim at the trees a little bit back so we can kind of see. You guys can see that at distance.
Those trees are approximately 150 yards away, roughly.
And you're getting solid illumination.
Right.
And then the really high setup, that's going to basically blow the targets, because we're about 50 yards away from the targets, or 25?
25.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and put the big boy setup on.
Yep, sure. You want to focus on something that's far away?
Yeah. Let's see.
So those trees over at our 9 o'clock or 2 o'clock, those are about 350 yards away.
Okay, let's hit that. Yeah, you guys can see the difference. It's a much broader but more intense beam. So, and again, guys, I'm filming this through a camera, so it'll look a little bit different through nods. So, all right, let's go ahead and do some engagement. Sure. Bro, set back to the CQB kind of setup. All right, on the call. Up. So pretty rapid engagement, pretty easy to pick up. All right, so I'm gonna kind of show you guys more of Sam's positioning on the rifle on the backside. I showed you kind of what the laser is doing out at the target side. So, all right, on the call. Up. So you guys can see he's not actually on the rifle. That chin is kind of going to his stock. He's looking over the optic and is using the Maul as kind of his point of reference and his aiming setup for the actual target.
So looking at your gun does zero good when you're wearing night vision or when it's pitch dark. So what I'm going to do when I load is I'm going to feel where this bullet is, right? I feel it's on the right-hand side of the magazine, so I'm going to insert it in. I can't look at the mag well. I got to know where it is. I push pull. I rack the slide, pull it out. Magically, that bullet's in the chamber because there's one on the left side. So I pull it out, and then I push it in. I make sure it's locked nice and firm. I push pull. I close the magazine, or I close the dust cover, and I'm ready to go.
All right,
That's how I'm going to load when it's dark out.
Okay, let's go ahead and hit some targets.
All right.
So let me change my focus. And by the way, guys, I'm not changing focus on the camera. I'm actually changing focus on the nods, because this is something that you have to work, that you do have to do. Depending on the distance, you're going to have to change kind of the focus, but it's super simple, as you guys can see. All right, down on the call. Up. All right, now you guys can see there's a lot of muzzle dust, and you guys can see some of the reflection of that, but you can still see the laser through that. Now, if he was under an optic and doing kind of the same thing with just an illuminator, it's going to kind of blow back. So that's another big point of having an actual aiming device with the laser. All right, on the call. Up. There we go. All right, very nice. So Sam over here has the D-ball, and we're going to go ahead and turn the illuminator now on the targets. So this is without illumination, and that's the illumination that it has. Right, so again, guys, under nods, that's a little bit better of a vision versus through a camera, so you guys got to keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and turn yours off. Don, go ahead and turn your illuminator on. Now this is the low power setting.
This is CQB mode.
This is CQB mode, so it's a lot of like splash and fill. All right, let's go to the medium setting. This is a little bit more for distance. You guys can see a really, really bright, way brighter. All right, and let's go to the high. Let's go to the trees, because this thing's gonna be super bright. Okay, so that's where your high long range setup. So you guys can see right away that the MAWL is much more powerful when it comes to the illuminator side. Now the lasers on both of these work really, really well. What we have right now on Sam's rifle is a class 3.
Correct.
So this laser is going to be a little more intense, just to show you the difference in class 3 versus class 1. So Sam, go ahead and put your laser on. Yep, no problem. All right, so class 3, you guys I can literally walk from the aiming device and you can see the laser the whole way down. And you guys can see how powerful that is for class 3. Now the reason that these guys have it, this is what these guys do. I mean, you can see it, there we go, all up in the sky. All right, so let's go ahead and turn that off. And now this is a class 1 MAWL. This is that, what, C3 plus?
C1 plus.
C1 plus. All right, let's go ahead and hit that. All right, so now you guys can see that spot. But what you can see is, if you get, can you do just the laser?
No.
Okay, so go ahead and turn it on.
Oh.
And just leave it on. All right, but you guys can see, you can't see the laser running from the aiming device out. You just see a spot. All right, so that's the main difference. Don, keep yours on. Sam, turn your laser back on, and we can actually see them side by side. So that's the side-by-side difference from class 1 and class 3, just so you guys can see the difference of it. All right, so Don has a little bit of a different way that he shoulders a rifle. So, Don, you ready?
Ready.
Up! So you guys can see he doesn't really run a chin weld. Go ahead and aim back up again. He has it more lower in his chest, but that still allows him the ability to move around and shift the different targets and whatnot. Now, you know, is that training or is that personal preference?
Yes. Mostly it's going to be because of gear, okay?
Okay.
I'm not wearing any body armor or kit. Sam's wearing stuff right here. So it sometimes depends on where you can place the buttstock. It depends upon, you know, what you have on your chest.
Okay.
It also depends on what kind of binocular or monocular setup. When he was shooting earlier, he's got a monocular, so he might want to get everything over a little bit closer to that left eye. I've got a monocular. I tend to keep things a little bit straighter up. I still often cant it a little bit, just because it's a little bit easier. But you know, that's the thing. It doesn't really matter. We're not trying to level up a set of scope here.
Yeah.
Crosshairs in a scope either.
All right, cool. All right, guys, so I'm going to take a crack out of this. I'm using the MAWL. Really easy. It's got a nice button setup on it. It's really ergonomic. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I'm running, again, the Bino set. These are awesome to use compared to the PVS 14s I'm used to. These are on a whole other level. So I'm going to go a little slower because I'm not super used to this. So here we go. Sam, if you do the pleasure. Up. All right. So first time using that, it's super easy. It's literally put dot on target, squeeze the trigger. Now I ran kind of what Don runs, where it was just sitting in my chest, so when I lifted, I sat right about here, because this is actually really comfortable for me. But I can see is like, if you get the rifle up there, you're kind of bumping into binos, so that makes sense for you running a monocular. You can get that a little bit higher. And what Sam said about running binos, that it works that way. So let's go ahead and finish up, and we'll see you in a second.